Good evening, everybody! Welcome to the first race of our 2023 season and also the first round of our 1986 F1 campaign, coming to you from Rio de Janeiro. The cars are now heading out for their warm-up session, having received their pre-race instructions. There is nothing like the beginning of a new season. Always a fun time, great possibilities, a clean slate, anything can happen. And here we are in Rio de Janeiro, where in real life, it's usually extremely hot at this time of year. Fortunately, our drivers won't have to deal with that, but they will have to deal with a very, very tiring race at Jacarepagua. This is a circuit that on its face looks pretty simple. Long straights, short straights, little kinks here and there, and semicircular turns, but maintaining your concentration for the duration of the race is going to be a real challenge, I think. And definitely it's going to be interesting. While I have this at the top of my mind, I want to mention the top 5 in qualifying earlier, because in this particular mod, the drivers have to leave the server, go back and get their race engine, and then come back in. On the pole for this race is going to be Jules Bouchard for JPS Lotus. Second is Grant Riddall for Brabham, which is also known as Motor Racing Developments. Luciano Rocha in third for JPS Lotus. So the server times that we saw during the last couple of weeks bore out JPS right up there on the top of the charts. Ray Riddall in fourth in a McLaren, and then John Team for Keith Ligier in fifth. So that's your top 5 that they're going to tackle this Jacarepagua circuit. Should be a really interesting afternoon. All these cars, of course, this is the turbo era of Formula One, but they all have different physics. They all have different ways they behave on the track, and it'll be interesting to see how our drivers deal with that and the circuit this afternoon. Looking out on the track here, drivers are getting ready to go. There's Tim Hilla in one of the Benettons, one of the more colorful liveries. So I'm going to be your play-by-play announcer for this event. I hope everyone had a fun and restful holiday season. You may remember that ISO held a 1986 F1 championship in 2021. But this is a different version of the mod. It incorporates new physics made in-house by our own Richard Wilkes. So we'll see how the drivers cope with those new physics. So it's not an exact repeat of the same thing. So we may ask ourselves, who are the favorites in this series? It's so hard to predict who's the favorite in the series at this point, but I have a few ideas that I'd like to share. Let's see, I'm going to run through the, there's Richard. Richard Coxon. When I look at the entry list, this is one name that jumps out at me. A very fast driver, to be sure, but also paired with a very fast Benetton BMW. Plus, he's naturally quick. In any open wheel series, he does really well. It could be this, it could be Indy cars. So I think that the combination of Benetton with Richard is going to be very formidable during the campaign. Also, there's a really interesting combination to consider, and that's the Team family, Oscar Team and John Team, both driving for Equipe Ligier. And this is a very quick car. I can remember when I was a kid watching Formula One in the 90s, and Ligier was kind of at a point of competitive nadir, and they were way down the order, and they were lucky to make the grid sometimes. But this is a point in history where Ligier was definitely very competitive. In fact, they were running 1-2 in Detroit during the 1986 season. So, and being that it's a family affair here with the Equipe Ligier, you can definitely see John and Oscar sharing information and setups, and definitely that could prove to be beneficial to both of them. I think they're a very good candidate for the Constructors' Championship, possibly, or possibly the Drivers' Championship, who knows. But I think that combination is definitely one that piques my interest. Jules Bouchard has been putting up incredible times over the past 2 weeks. Just really, really quick in his JPS Lotus. And his teammate, Luciano Rocha, has been very far behind. They've been 1-2 on the time chart for weeks. And it'll be really interesting to see if that raw speed of theirs translates over into good racecraft over, say, roughly 200 miles, which is about the length each Grand Prix is. But they've been consistently fast. So this may be a situation, especially in the case of Jules, of a driver and a car meshing really well. Let's take a look at him on board here. Here he is, onboard shot for you. And you can see what I mean here about there being constant radius corners going around this circuit. They don't decrease in radius, so from a technical point of view, you might say, well, that's not too challenging, but in any case, you can see some of these corners do have a little bit of banking to help you around. Now, here we come down the back straightaway. This is the best opportunity for overtaking here on the circuit because it's the longest straight on the course and towards the mountains here. And as we get to the end of the back straightaway, this is where you would pop out and hopefully overtake. And it's a very fast corner that you go into. So, and you can see how you have to hold your speed through a lot of these corners. That's going to pose some problems we'll talk about in a second. But the other combination that I'd like to point out that I think might have a shot at the championship or wins or some success is the Ferrari team. And this time around, the Ferrari team has Jonathan Asserklint, that you see right there, and he is driving his countryman's car, Stefan Johansson, and so there's no there's no doubting why they were paired. But also, his teammate is Juha Boss for the season, and that's a good combination, I think. Juha's very quick, obviously, to start out with. Jonathan does not normally drive open-wheeled cars, so we'll see what happens throughout the series. I think he's going to do well. I think Jonathan is a very smart driver and a very adaptable driver. I mean, he qualified cars for us in Indianapolis many years when people couldn't be there, so he was very eager to step into something he wasn't quite familiar with. So I wouldn't judge Jonathan too quickly by saying, oh, well, he usually drives touring cars. Now, I think he can do well in this series, and I'm looking forward to seeing how well he does. And meanwhile, Juha, I think you're looking at a definite title contender there in the other Ferrari. I definitely think there's a chance there. Now, those are my editorialized points of view. If I get a color commentator here, I will... oh, wait, hang on a minute. Give me 1 second. And I would like to welcome to the broadcast booth everyone's favorite Spanish color commentator, Alberto Ibañez. Alberto, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I was busy going through a few things, but I've shared my opinions on who I think is worth watching during this series. I mean, everybody's worth watching, but who I think have the most possibility of having success. You've had a chance to look at the speed charts and follow these drivers. Who do you think we should be looking at?
Well, it's a very tough question, actually, because the speed charts only are revealing who the quickest driver on a single lap is.
True.
So what you really need to look here, because we are facing the problems of fuel consumption and also of tire management, is who can be the quickest over the whole race. And well, if you ask me, over a single lap, we have many hot shots here. There are many good drivers here who can do very well with the cars, but the problem with Formula One is that it's not just the driver, it's the machinery also. So the thing here is the combination of man and machine. It's going to be a tough one. So you were talking about Jonathan Asserklint and Juha Boss, and I think those are two very likely favorites, because Juha Boss is very cool driver when he wants. He is very thinking. He can prepare the races very well. And the Ferrari is not the quickest car by any means, but it's a very well balanced machine. Then we have Ray Riddle and David Sauber in the McLaren, and those are long-term runners. Those are cars that are going to be there at the end of the races, even if they are not going to shine at the beginning of them. The Williams, you can never discard the Williams because they are so quick. But then we have on a second tier of cars, there's where the really hot drivers are. I mean, we got so many interesting combinations here in the Benettons, in the Williams, in the Brabbans. So I think that we are going to see here some people get the poles, but then be over the whole race be shadowed by those on the second tier that are really quick on the cars. And a guy that I would never, absolutely never discard and be keeping an eye on is Gabriele Del Piccolo, because he's one of the toughest contenders when it comes to preparing the races thoroughly.
Yeah, we got him on our camera now. He's driving the very low-slung Motor Racing Developments entry. I believe he was 6th on the qualifying chart. So yeah, race preparation, definitely, I agree. I think he's someone to watch out for. This car, though, is a peculiar one in that it's very low and it tends to do well at the high-speed circuits. You wouldn't expect it to do well at, say, Monaco or a street circuit. But still, that's we'll see how he does. I think you're right. He's a good one to look forward to throughout the series.
Remember, one interesting thing is that the last time we ran this mode, Gabriele was doing a Benetton, and he was a bit like slow to get on with the car, to get along with it. But in the end, he was absolutely flying and dominating.
Well,
and I think this is going to be a pattern here with many of the drivers, because these are machines that are going to need to get used to, and also they are going to evolve over the whole season.
Yeah. Speaking of race prep, you saw Gabriele there practicing a start. So he's definitely making sure that he's got everything taken care of. He's got the car with the correct amount of fuel. He's getting used to how it performs with this new weight distribution that it's going to have at the start. And then there he was practicing a race start. So he's very meticulous about getting ready for a race, which shows good racecraft. I have another question too, and it's been top of mind. I'd like your opinion on it. The JPS team has been top of the speed chart for the last 2 weeks with Jules Bouchard with an impossibly fast lap when you compare it to second place. I mean, it was like 12.7 or something. It was ridiculous. It looked like he must have taken a shortcut, but in any case, I mean, obviously not, but that's how quick he was. And then you had Luciano Rocha, his teammate, right behind him. Now, those, as you mentioned at the start, raw speed on a chart does not indicate necessarily how you're going to do in a race. How do you think those two will fare over a race distance?
It's going to be interesting to see because the Renault engine really has many problems here due to the fuel consumption. This is not the toughest track in terms of fuel consumption, but still the Renault is very thirsty, very powerful, as we can see in the charts, but also a very thirsty engine. So I think they are going to go from the top to a bit behind, but then it depends on how they manage the things and the distance in the stop and how they do the second half of the race. That's where it's going to be the key. Because, because you know, they can sprint away, but then it's going to be a catch-up game for everybody.
Yeah, are you thinking that we're going to expect at least one pit stop in this race?
Yeah.
For
I
tires?
think so, because there is going to be, I mean, drivers are going to need to be using here harder tires because of the long corners that have a lot of downforce and a lot of the cars leaning on the tires. So tire wear is going to be quite interesting here. So I don't think that anybody without doing a stop is going to be able to actually make the race distance properly, at least.
I wonder if anybody would try that, say some of the cars at the back put on super hard tires and see if they can get through without making a stop. But then again, it's the time you lose on the track. Oh, goodness, there's a collision there between Del Piccolo and one of the Lotai. Oh, goodness. Well,
well, they are using the warm-up to test themselves.
Yes. Yeah, get that out of the way before the actual race. It's always a good thing.
And I think that was a quite interesting warning from Del Piccolo.
Yeah.
Like, that's with me in the race, because if I'm quicker, I'm quicker.
Yeah. Well, I told all our viewers, hopefully they had a very safe and happy, restful holiday. Hope you had the same, Alberto.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, it was a great one.
Good.
We had a good rest, and I'm really, Jason. I wanted really stress that I'm so happy to be here back in the booth with you, because these races are absolutely incredible to watch and to watch. So it's going to be a really fun season.
Right back at you. This is going to be great. While we're talking about the season, there's a few more things. We got about 4 minutes to go. There's a few more items I'd like to go through. The point spread in this championship. Not too surprising. We've done F1 championships before on many occasions. 9 points for the winner, 6 points for second, 4 points for third, 3 points for fourth, 2 for fifth, and 1 for sixth. Now, there are, of course, some asterisks that go with this. Drivers and Constructors Championships will be contested. We know that. The best 11 results will count towards a Drivers' Championship total.
Yeah.
That's going to start to get funny towards the end. All results count towards the Constructors' Championship, so at least we don't have to worry about drop scores there. And here's another key thing. Drivers must complete 85% of a race distance to be classified. So you can't just go slowly, keep your car clean, and finish in the points and say, okay, I've got points. You may have not completed 85% of the race. So that means you have to move at a specific speed. You're expected to be competitive to a certain degree.
Yeah, and even so, it's interesting to see, because it's funny, because somehow contradictory, that in the peak of the turbo era, where the cars were somehow the craziest and the quickest things around, at the same time, what the points were rewarding was actually consistency.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And also how, because due to the fuel limitations, you have to start with a full tank, or whatever you think that is going to give you to make it to the end of the race, because remember, some cars here are slower but also use less fuel. You had to manage the fuel, you had to manage the tires, you had to use the boost for that, but also be able to coast, to drive smoothly, and to take care of the car. So it's somehow like Group C, the great Group C, which we are going to run later on this year.
Yep.
It had a bit of a contradiction there that made life so difficult, and also so different from what the people expected. When the viewers that were looking at the TV, they were expecting something probably sometimes different from what the drivers actually had to do, because they had to pace themselves. And this is the situation with Ayrton Senna, who got so many poles, but then had to pace himself and had to fight hard and let other drivers through, because he needed to save fuel of the thirsty Renault engine.
Yeah. It's like a game of three-dimensional chess in a way.
Yeah.
There are lots of facets to consider. Trivia question before we start here. We'll get to the answer later on. Trivia question: who won the first Brazilian Grand Prix at Jacarepaguá on January 29th, 1978? Was it A, Mario Andretti, B, Carlos Reutemann, or C, Ronnie Peterson? We'll have the answer for you later in the broadcast. Coming up at ISO, new season, new cars, new series. Coming up next Sunday. I'm really looking forward to this. Been practicing a lot. I think I've got these cars somewhat down. I understand how they shift back and forth, the weight. It's the International Pro Car Meeting. We have our Pro Car Series 9 rounds from 1980, and that's the series that'll precede the Group C championship that you were talking about. Our first race next Sunday, January 15th. Race start at 2000 CET. I believe Jonathan is broadcasting that one. And then the following Sunday, the 22nd, we do the next race for F1 1986. It's the Spanish Grand Prix, and this should be an interesting one too. I believe it's at Jerez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that one starts at 2000 CET. So there's a look at what's coming up for the series. Various series. All right, so getting close to the start here, and with Jules Bouchard on the pole, and Grant on the outside. This is going to be a very combustible start, I think.
Certainly, certainly, because also you're looking here at actually at two different ways of looking at the race. Because Jules knows, as we have already said, that he's going to go backwards. I mean, the pole is not the place where the Lotus should be in terms of race pace. It's going to be a top 5 for him, that's for sure. But he knows he's going to go backwards due to fuel consumption, whereas for Grant it's actually the opposite case. I mean, the BMW engine is obviously not the best in terms of fuel saving. That's the McLaren Porsche one, but still he has a much better chances of actually going up. We know Grant is putting the Brabham actually way over what it was capable in real life. But still, he has a good chance at the race if he has been preparing and he knows very well what to do in terms of fuel saving, coasting, tire management, and all that. And I think one of the highlights of the season is going to be the duel between Grant Ridal and Gabriele Del Piccolo, because I really cannot think of a stronger pairing in a car team right now.
Mm. Yeah, it's easy to forget that just because you're someone's teammate in Formula One, that doesn't mean that you're doesn't mean that
you're his friend. Yes,
a free flow of information is going on. All right, so we're going to the race
Mansell
session.
versus Piquet.
Yes, 61 laps on the board, and we're going to proceed to the grid in a moment. We'll give you the full grid rundown as they go around in their reconnaissance lap. 18 people joining us on YouTube right now. Thanks so much for joining us. We're really excited to start this series. New physics and many names that we associate with fast driving and great racecraft. So looking forward to bringing this to you on YouTube. Thanks for joining us. All right, so the game has to catch up here. Eventually we'll see the cars on the grid, and then we will go around.
Yeah, that grid, going through the grid, is going to be also a quite fitting opportunity to present some new drivers coming here to ISO and talk a bit about them.
That's true. It's also it's going to be a bit challenging for us because it's a new series, and there we go. So here we are on the grid itself. All right, so we're off on the parade lap. On the pole is Jules Bouchard in the JPS Lotus. There is on the left. Second, Grant Ridal for Motor Racing Developments. Third is Luciano Rocha in the other JPS. I was expecting to see a JPS lockout of the front of the grid, but did not happen. Fourth is Ray Ridal from Marlboro McLaren International. He's driving KK Rosberg's car. Fifth is John Tiemann, the first of the Equipe Ligier cars. Sixth is Gabriele Del Piccolo for Motor Racing Developments. Seventh, Juha Bossen, the first of the Ferraris. Eighth, Oscar Tiemann, the second Equipe Ligier entry. Ninth is Cesarius Slipinski, driving the late Patrick Tambay's Team Haas entry. 10th on the grid, David Saber in the other Marlboro McLaren International car. 11th, Anders Nilsson for the other Team Haas entry. 12th, Cale McHeels, Cannon Williams Honda team. 13th, Richard Coxon for Benetton Formula. 14th, Jan Kowalski for Cannon Williams Honda team. 15th is Tim Hilla for Benetton Formula. 16th, Brian Janik for West Zakspeed Racing. 17th, Bruno Chacon, Barclay Arrows BMW. 18th, Peter Hlavich, Barclay Arrows BMW. 19th, Alan Santo, West Zakspeed Racing. 20th, Bruno Paggiola, Jolly Club AGS. 21st is Dave Miller in the Minardi team car. 22nd, Jakob Fredriksson, Data General Team Tyrrell. 23rd, Kenny Houghton, new comer to ISO, had a few starts last year, Minardi team racing. 24th, Jonathan Asserclinth in the Scuderia Ferrari. 25th, Matthew Sibignani, Data General Team Tyrrell. 26th, Rob DeVries, Ocella Squadra Course. And rounding out the field is Ricardo Mendez Osella Squadra course. That's your grid. 27 cars.
It's a very big grid. I was
Yeah.
looking at that, and while you were mentioning some of the names, and we were going down 15, 16, 17, 18, and I was thinking myself, well, you could think that maybe 15th is not that great of a position, and then you look at the grid, which is nearly 30 cars, and you say, my goodness, that's half grid. I mean,
Yeah.
that's actually a pretty good position to be.
Here comes Jules onto the grid, and he's going to bring his car up to his spot. He wants to stay there as short a time as possible. Other cars slotting
Look at
in.
how he plays the car already somehow tilted towards
Yes.
the exit, the outside of the turn. So he's looking forward to blocking Grant Ridal at the start.
Yep.
Let's see, because that might open actually the gap for the guys who are behind, like Luciano Rocha and John Tim. Because look at that, because look ahead at the start, because I think we're going to see Bouchard going very quickly to the outside to block Grant Ridal. Let's
All
see
right,
how it...
the revs are building, getting ready for the start of the season. Here come the lights. Buckle up. And the race is underway. Bouchard gets away well, but look at Grant Ridal. He gets away even better. And it looks like John Team is coming forward in the Ligier. He's going to be third, but look at this. They're right next to each other. Going through the first turn, Grant Ridal is in the lead. Jules Bouchard is second. John Team, it appears, is third. So already we have a very interesting dynamic going here. We have the Brabham out in front. Here comes Jules. He's looking for a way to get back by again. No, not at that corner. Not going to happen. Grant Ridal leads. Jules Bouchard is in second. John Team in third. Luciano Rocha fourth. Ray Rodolph in fifth. Gabriel Del Piccolo in sixth. Cesarius Lipinski seventh. Kowalski eighth. Nilsson ninth. And Juha Boss rounds out the top 10. Now they're on the long straight. Here comes Jules. He's going to try to turbo boost his way by, and there he goes into the lead. Jules Bouchard back in the lead.
A very safe start for everybody. All the cars got through the first turn easily, and now they are snaking past the infield. And it's very good to see how cautious everybody has been. I mean, they are trying to get used to the cars, to the competition, everything. And in all regards, this has been a great, very professional start from our drivers.
Professional and exciting. So, Jules took advantage of that long straight to power his way back into the lead. Grant drops back to second. Team had an excellent start. Up into third now for Equipe Ligier, and he's got a Lotus right on his tail in the form of Luciano Rocha. And you also have Ray. He had a very good getaway.
Okay, Oscar Team is getting into the pits, and I think he had somehow, I don't really know why, he had a drive-through penalty. Probably, I think there was a car on the grass. There was a McLaren on the grass early in the race, and probably they were avoiding some slow starter.
Well, that's really terrible for Oscar Team. Not the way you want to start the season.
Yeah, he's back now. He's not even last, but obviously that's going to hurt him.
All right, well, I know it's early on, but already a small gap is being opened between Jules Bouchard and Grant Ridal. 1.5 seconds separates the two. And it'll be interesting to see how John Team is able to take on Grant Ridal. Looking from the cockpit. They're heading down the long back straightaway now on lap 2. That was really authoritative, though, how Jules was like, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to lead.
Yeah, well, let me tell you the one thing. We were in the backstretch some moments ago, which is the best place of the circuit, and Grant wasn't, barely hitting 9,000 RPM. So that means he's way, way, way under the car potential. He's taking it really easy. He has a calculating mind in place. He's really looking at Jules Bouchard like someone who is going to later have to cut back due to fuel issues or to save the engine or whatever. But I can tell you, he's trying to save the engine. He's going here with a very cold head.
Meanwhile, there's some interesting mixes going on in the back here. Jan Kowalski 8th, trying to overtake Cesarius Lipinski for 7th.
That's,
Honda.
and I should say, a very good position for the Haas to be.
Yes.
There is Cesario showing his quality again.
Yeah. The Haas team historically did not do very well in Formula One. It was quite a disappointment. But, oh my goodness! Jan Kowalski hit one of the curbs and went onto the grass just now, and that is a real danger here at Jacarepagua. You hit one of these curbs and it almost bounces you back. It's almost like the curbs are made of rubber. And it's like a pinball machine. It almost bounces you back into the track, and that cost Jan a position there. Juha was able to slip past into 7th place.
And I'm looking back here, and for some reason, Gabriele Del Piccolo is in 27th position and
Well, he
going quite slow.
Must have had something happen to him at the start,
Yeah.
but that we didn't notice. But in any case, I think you're right. When I look back through this serial of cars here, it does look like people have been very professional and are taking it recently. So let's see how our friend Johnny Aces is doing here.
So he's actually now catching up places. Just
Yeah, he
overtook
is.
Petr Lavak.
Yeah, he started 24th, I believe, and now he's 18th, so he's overtaken plenty of cars already. Kenny Houghton just in front of him in a Minardi. Oh my goodness, lots of... Oh no, Kenny spins out right in front of Jonathan Assercliff and he gets by. Oh my god, that was incredibly close. Let's see a replay of that.
On each side.
Where are you going to go? Here's the replay.
I think all the ovals that we have run in the past years have been paying off now.
Yeah, there you go. And he goes to the outside, manages to get by.
When you see a car spin in front of you, you know what to do.
Well, I mean, not to take anything away from Kenny, but you know, obviously that's not a situation you want to be in. But great driving, great heads-up driving by Johnny Aces.
Yeah, absolutely. How many leagues you can say that you would have that kind of speed with two cars very close to you, and you would get unscattered, and the other cars too.
Well, things have calmed down to some extent at the front of the grid now, or at the front of the field. Things are getting a little bit more dicey towards the back. Oh, here we have Tim Hilla doing battle with Bruno Paggiola. Bruno Paggiola in the AGS.
Yeah, it's at the beginning of the season. The Benettons are going to suffer a lot.
Why
They were
is that?
underdeveloped cars because they were cars that was a new team, if I remember correctly. Someone correct me if not, but they had taken over. I think it was a Toleman team.
Yes,
I'm not sure, but they had taken over a team, and they had basically started from the ground up. And what's actually remarkable is what they were able to do in single season, because they were winning races by the end of the year. And we saw that dramatic change last time around when Gabriele Del Piccolo was driving Theo Fabi's, right?
Yeah.
And he, at the beginning, he was at best midfield, and then towards the end, he was absolutely dominating. So we should be expecting that kind of thing from the Benettons here, because the physics are so accurate to what the real thing was.
All right, because that's interesting. I remember last time we did this series in 2021, and I was driving a Benetton. It was at this race as a test race, and I placed 6th. And I found it to be a very quick car. So I guess it's a different situation with these new physics. We're trying to be more true to life.
It's always a matter of very small things or details, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because look, the thing with the Benetton is that it has a BMW engine. This was still the BMW engine that originated in the early 80s. That the Brabhams also started using. Nelson Piquet was a champion with that, so it was a very powerful engine, turbocharged, but it was a 4-pot, so it had its limitations. The fuel use is not bad, the power is absolutely great, but the power band, my goodness, it's thin as a smoking paper. It's very brutal. It's a really, really brutal engine. That's something that the Brabhams are also suffering. I was having a chat with Gabriele Del Piccolo before the season started, and he had been driving the Benetton in the last time, and now he has again the same engine, and he was telling me, well, it's powerful, and the good thing is...
No, just sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. Tim
Okay,
Hill
he
had
was
just
telling me that the good thing is that he knows how to drive it, but the bad thing is that it's still what it is.
okay. Well, Tim Hill is finding his way around some cars here. He just got past Jakob Fredriksson in one of the Tyrrells, so he's got his going, and then Coxon is running 12th. We'll see how
Whoop.
they shake out.
And Kenny Houghton is out.
Oh no!
Same as Alan Santo. Yeah, I think he was really not comfortable in the Minardi here. The car was very tail happy, snaking a lot.
shoot.
I don't know if he had gotten some kind of damage from a contact or if it was just that I don't know.
He
The
clearly
setup was
wasn't.
not correct.
He clearly wasn't happy in that one situation where the car spun out, but there could have been something else that happened. In any case, look at this. We have a new second place car in the form of John Team. He's in front of Grant Riddall at this point, and Luciano Rocha is fourth. So the Ligier team starting to assert themselves now.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me because we know now John and Oscar are very quick drivers. They are paired in the Ligier team. That means they can work together, and they have been doing that thing also in kart. And they are going to be a very, very, very quick team.
Meanwhile,
working together like that.
Luciano Rocha, who is fourth, is right behind Grant Riddall. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get up into third place here. He was very close as they got into the main straight, but lost a bit of time after the fact.
And you can see here that Jules Bouchard actually, he sprinted away, as we saw. He easily overtook Grant Riddall thanks to the big power of the Renault engine, especially when you crank up the boost. But he hasn't been able to actually get away. I mean, there is a gap, there is a cushion, but people are just following him. I think he wanted to be in the lead because he wanted to keep his concentration. And you know, there's two kinds of drivers. The ones that are happy being at the front driving by themselves, that they are absolutely unfazed and not intimidated by the empty track in front of them, and the ones who are absolutely happy following another car, and that's how they perform best. So I think in the case of Bouchard, he was saying, no, I want the free empty track in front of me, and then I'm going to, manage myself on the car.
Yeah, there are certain points in the track that Luciano is definitely faster than Grant, but he's not able to close up on him at just the right point. But it'll definitely be interesting to see when the pit stops come along who ends up in the better place. Ray Riddall now being tailed by Gabriel Del Piccolo in the other Brabham. And you can see those massive mirrors that the Brabham has. No excuses here. You can't say I didn't see the person. And he's closing up. He's staying right with Ray. I don't know that he's going to be able to overtake, but he's getting close.
Yeah, it's one of those situations. I was talking about it before. Some drivers are happy to follow another car, some drivers are not. So it depends on whether the car in front of you has the rhythm that you want. Because Luciano Rocha, now that he's right behind Grant, he basically has those two options. I mean, be happy with the rhythm or say, nah, that's not the thing that I want and I need to overtake.
Yeah. We got some reports from YouTube here, the chat. It's Alan Santo, and he tells us that made a mistake with the gear ratios, I believe is what he's saying, and blew the engine as a result. So that's, I mean...
Well,
that's,
I think he went one more gear down than he intended.
Okay.
And the over-revving absolutely killed the engine, if I understood it right, yes.
All right, that's what he means. Well, experience will build as the series goes on, and we'll see racecraft improve over the course of the series, no doubt about it. Here is Juha Boss, meanwhile in 8th place, about to be overtaken by David Saber. No, Saber tries the inside, can't get it done. But they have a Lola right in front of them there. I think Juha's trying to take take the Lola just ahead of him, which is Slipinski. So there's a 3-car battle here that's quite being hotly contested right now.
Yeah, and you see for David Sabre, that's very clearly the situation that I was talking about. I mean, the McLaren is not a great qualifying car. It's a car that has the pace, the legs in the race stream. Now he wants to get in front of those cars because they are actually hampering him. I mean, he's not able to have the rhythm that he wants, and he's desperate to pass.
Okay, there goes Juha. He reached down and turned the boost knob, and he is overhauling Slipinski. Yes, he goes into the corner just ahead of the Lola.
Oh,
no! Oh, David Sabre gets on the grass there, and that's not a place you want to do that, because that is a very fast corner. He was lucky to get away with that.
Yeah, I think he didn't take into account that even if the corner is quicker, and he actually entered at the right speed, Cesarius had to cut off due to having to let Juha Boss through. So that's the reason that David Sabre... Whoa, there's a car going out behind him. Out in the grass, but back again.
And
so that's the reason, basically, that David found him in the middle of the corner.
And we have an overtake here for 3rd place. It is Luciano Rocha. And it did not happen on the long straight. It happened on one of the shorter straights. But here's the replay. Luciano in 4th pops out, powers his way by, takes away the line. Very cleanly done. It's the corner before the last one is where he did this. So now Luciano Rocha in 3rd place, and his teammate in the lead. John Team in 2nd place for Equipe Ligier.
Yeah, Grant didn't put much up of a fight, which is quite indicating that he knows that there is not that much pace in the Brabham right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, well, go by. We'll see us at the end of the race.
He's taking the long view, is
yeah.
what you're saying.
No, and it's quite amazing because we all know Grant has been known in our league for a long time for being one of the hot shots, one of the really, really quick drivers. And it's easy to overlook that even if he is a very aggressive driver and knows how to drive the wheels of the car, he can really have a thinking mind. In kart, he didn't shine so much because of 2 things. First of all, ovals. He's not really happy in ovals. But second, because he had so much bad luck with the discos and engine troubles that he actually was not able to show his quality.
Yeah, in a way, on a performance analysis, he was great. He was very quick, but he couldn't translate that quickness into wins or consistency on the track, unfortunately.
Yeah, in that regard, I think he was a very good impersonation of Michael Andretti.
All right, so the gap now from the lead from Luciano is 2.7 seconds. So yeah, he hasn't been able to get away too far. John Team in 2nd place. In 3rd is Luciano Rocha after overtaking. Oh, and look at this. Oh no, wait. That is not a pass per position. That is Matthew Sibignani being lapped, or supposedly being lapped by
I think
Grant.
He's somehow unlapping himself.
Well, I think he's finally going to give way here, maybe. Yes, finally gives way to Grant. Next car in line is, I believe, Ray Radal. Yes, and he gets by. So Matthew either had to make a pit stop early on, or had something to do that took him down the serial that far.
This is one of the things with this track. I mean, you can see this happening here in this somewhat slower section because it's always a quick track. But when you are going into the really quick turns, there is only one line, period. So you either go to that line or you cannot make it.
There goes Juha Boss Juha Boss is being overtaken by Ray Radal.
Yeah, here is an example of that. I mean, in this long corner, you have to duck behind the other car, otherwise you're not able to have the grip.
Now Gabriel Del Piccolo in 7th place following these two cars. Yeah, early on the Brabham seems like more of a long stretch car. I mean, it's Grant and Gabriel may find that they're in a situation where they have to wait for someone to have a engine blow up or something. But in any case, look at that. Look at how much they streak away from Gabriel as they go on the long straight.
Well, that's obviously because he's using very low boost.
Yeah.
Because
and here
the BMW engine, well,
now just got overhauled by Cesarius. Ooh, Cesarius almost loses the back end there as they finish that maneuver. But and now he's got David Saber breathing down his neck. Oh, you saw there, David Saber touched the curb again, and you get that sound, that buzzy little sound that the curb makes. But also, like I mentioned, it tends to push you back out onto the track. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction with these curbs.
Yep.
Isaac Newton must have designed the track. Heading on to the long, or not the long straight, the short straight now. And Saber's going to try to find a way by Del Piccolo. Oh, look at that. Bit of a surprise there for, yeah, he had to check up there. Let's see if David can make this work. Coming on the outside, or now the inside. No, he can't. That was very close, but closing distance between cars here is sometimes surprising. Now they're heading on to the long back straightaway, this hairpin section. I think David's going to do it here. He's got a good roll. Yep, there he goes. Up through the gears. Well, actually, no, he ducked back behind him for a minute there. Now, at the end, yes, he has overtaken Gabriel Del Piccolo for 8th place. There was a puff of dust there. Not sure who that was from. It must have been from Schlapinski. Yeah, the cars are at the front are starting to encounter a lot of cars at the back of the field, so things are getting a little bit more dicey at the front now.
It's interesting to see if you get on a highway, on a high view here. It's interesting to see how differently the cars drive and how different the style of driving for every driver is. Because if you look at Cesarius Lapinski, for example, he's coming late into the corner. He's turning the car is very loose, and he's having the rear always like shaking behind him. Whereas in the case of Gabriel Del Piccolo, he's going very, very quickly into the corner. He's like as if he was fearing as if the car was going to lose the rear behind. He really goes very quick to the apex, and you normally wouldn't expect that from a car that is designed to be somewhat of a hot rod. I mean, something that has traction and that is supposed to be designed to be quick on the straights. Look at that. I mean, Cesarius enters the turn way later than Gabriel does. Gabriel is immediately hugging from the inside.
And as you say, loose on the exit. So, yeah, here's a chopper shot looking down now. He actually just lost a place to Saber a few seconds ago.
But look at this one.
Oh man,
look
very
at that
loose.
Piccolo. He's entering the turn so early. It's amazing because normally you would be advised as a road racing driver to well against that. So it's something that he really is thinking that there is something in the car that works better like that.
Maybe something left over from when he drove Indy cars?
Probably, I don't know.
Well, he's holding his own now. As we look forward to the field. Yeah, it's a case now at the front of overtaking lapped cars. Bouchard still in the lead. John Tiemann second. Third is Luciano Rocha. Fourth, Grant Radal, although he has Juha Boss closing in on him now in the first of the Ferraris. This ought to be interesting. And they have a car that they have to lap in the form of Bruno Chacon. I doubt he's going to make any trouble for them, but sometimes the distraction of having a lap car in front of you is all it takes for you to lose concentration and let somebody by. And look at that. Chacon lets both of them by with no problem. All right, now we're coming onto the straight here. Rob de Vries just ahead. Juha going up through the gears. He seems to want to get by. And there he goes. He's trying to get by Grant. And he zooms past, at least from this foreshortened shot, it appears he's zooming past. There, yes, he got in front. So Boss now up to 4th place, Grant down to 5th. And they both have to now deal with the Osella. There, and they get by with no problem. But looks like Juha's carrying the hopes of the Tifosi this afternoon.
There's Ricardo Mendes on the grass now. I don't know if that's engine damage. I think so, because the RPMs are stalled.
Yes, Ricardo Mendes stopped dead on the track. Not hearing any. Yeah, the engine is dead. There's nothing, no noise of any kind. So it appears that he's out of the race, unfortunately. Ricardo is going to be driving in the Pro Car Series next Sunday, and he's been putting up some excellent times so far. So we'll see what happens there. His teammate, Rob de Vries, is still in the race in 21st. But the Osella is not the happiest of cars to drive on any day, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a disgrace waiting to happen. So.
Yeah, it's that's a discussion we'll have to have one time. Worst F1 teams in history. I know it's been done before by other people, but it's always an intriguing conversation.
Well, I'll tell you something. I might have here some questionable taste, but I always thought that the car in itself looks very nice. I always like it, those rounded shapes, as if some kind of, well, I don't know. It's like an insect.
Well, you can see. You can see, looking at the different cars, the different intent of the designer in each case.
Yeah.
I mean, a McLaren MP4 is certainly different from a Brabham BT55 in terms of philosophy of what's going to make it go faster. All right, so Roche is still 3rd. Boss now up to 4th. But the interesting thing here is that Saber is not dropping back. He is staying right with Juha. He's not willing to concede that 4th place just yet. I had a feeling that Juha would do well in this series.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the first race. I mean, it's nearly a test race for everybody. There are drop scores, and it's like they are racing in a somewhat different environment of what they will be doing in most of the European season. So this is probably not really too telling of many things. You can see here some things, some snippets, but not everything, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it is very early. It used to be the case that, especially in the 70s, that teams would come to the early races that were usually in the southern hemisphere because of the winter in the northern part, and they would usually come with the car from last year, and they wouldn't bother introducing the car for that year until they got to the European session. So, but that's obviously not happening here. There's a lot of new cars here that were not present in 1985.
Yeah, but 86 Formula One was very, very professional. Nothing like the Formula One of the 70s, where you got people like on the Heskett team to actually go like, oh, come on, it's not that much of a difference in money to run an F2 or running F1. And this time they had big sponsors, big money, and they were really trying to make the most of it.
And you saw on your screen just a bit ago, David Saber got back by Juha. So this battle is still raging. Looks like Juha's taking a bit of a breather before he tries to get back by again. And Grant Riddall is starting to struggle to hold on to these two. Before he was right behind. Now he's a little further back. And meanwhile, interesting battle going on between Ray Radal and Gabriel Del Piccolo. Those two are quite close together.
Yes, I think, as I said, that everybody's taking this, or at least all the calculating drivers that are looking at the championship challenge, everybody's taking this as a test race. They're testing many things here. I can see that Grant and Gabriele, for example, are testing different things like what's the pace that I can comfortably have? What's the difference with the cars around? If I do sprint, I'm able to actually overtake these guys. And what is the cost in terms of fuel? So this is really a test bench for everybody.
Oh goodness! Oh yeah. Now we have a lap car situation here. Grant trying to overtake one of the Minardis. It would be the teammate to Kenny Houghton, Dave Miller. Yes,
Dave Miller,
who makes room for Grant, no problem.
Yep, can always expect that from Dave.
But this is where it gets
now right with it.
I mean, this track has got a decent width to it, so overtaking cars at the back of the field is not a huge problem. There are going to be other circuits later on in the season that we arrive at that are going to have very narrow track width.
That's correct, yes. This is not a especially wide track, but it has some very long straights, and overtaking here is easy for the more powerful cars. The Hungaroring and places like that, that's going to be a very different matter altogether.
So Saber now has pulled out quite a distance here on Juha, about 1.5 seconds. So maybe Juha has decided that discretion's the better part of valor, and he's going to take a bit of a breather and see what happens in the pit stop. But Saber had a pretty up.
Remember last time we ran this, the Ferrari started very well, and then it started breaking down again and again and again, and it became a real nightmare. So probably Juha is now being cautious here, doesn't want to push the luck too much.
Yeah, I would say so. The interesting part will be when are we going to see the first pit stops. It's not necessarily going to be smack at lap 30, I would think, because the fuel goes down, and eventually you get to a point where you have, you can have the tires on for longer because the fuel weight is less, and so then the tires wear less. Now, here's an interesting battle shaping up between Luciano Rocha and John Team. He has caught John Team, either because Team made a bit of a mistake, or Luciano Rocha decided to turn up the boost here, and he wants it to be a Lotus 1-2. Heading onto the long street now. He was very, very close a bit ago, and now he's dropped back slightly.
Yeah, we're 1/3 into the race now, and I guess that most drivers have been able to see several things. So even if actually towards the end of the race the strategy might change, because some people might be actually saving fuel, while others like Jules Bouchard think they are basically on the opposite strategy. I mean, I'm all out now to the fuel use limit, maybe even a tad above it. And when I open a big gap, I'd rather manage a cushion than try to make up for what I haven't done in the first part of the race. So we're going to see here this work like somehow like a spring, like a rubber band, like people going close, distant, and trying different strategies.
Here it comes. Luciano looks, well, he had a look up the inside. Whoa, he had to check up there because the closure rate was suddenly very, very high. Now he goes on the outside, and Luciano Rocha up to second place. John Team down to third, so low tie running 1-2 at this point. Oh, look, Luciano puts his foot on the agriculture there for a second, but doesn't lose anything. Yeah, the Ligier team enjoyed sporadic success in 1986. They were 1-2 at Detroit for a period of time, but it is a very fast car. It'll be interesting to see how they do, the teams through this series.
Slight error here by Grant Ridal. Right, father immediately behind. Gabriele not far away.
Oh, and here comes Ray.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a bit of a trend in the races. Because Grant, very talented, is going to probably have some high classification in the when running for the pole and all that. But there's Gabriele. It's always such a thinking driver, and he prepares so much the races that over a whole distance, I mean, they are really, like I said, very well matched. It's a very powerful pair here.
He's in a Brabham sandwich right now.
Yep. With, don't forget that, Williams there asking for some room.
Yeah. I don't know, Del Piccolo's looking pretty anxious here. Looks like he wants to mix it up a bit, but on the other hand, Saber's also, well, that's tough. You have to look ahead and behind you at the same time, and you're seeing double. So going back to that second place situation. So Rocha has pulled out a bit of a gap on John Team now. And then you have David Saber fourth, Juha Boss fifth, Grant Ridal in sixth, with a bunch of hungry cars behind him. There you can see.
Overtaking here in these cars, unless you have somehow of a moment or a problem or whatever, you really need to be like at least half a second to 1 second quicker if you want to overtake here, because otherwise you don't have enough advantage to be able to outrun the other guy on the straight or be able to go for the inside in the corner. So it's no wonder that Luciano Rocha has been able to get away, because he was simply on a different rhythm.
Yeah. We were looking at an overhead shot there of Grant Ridal, and Saber was catching him hand over fist on the long straight. So, oh, sorry, not it was Ray Ridal.
That's Ray
Ridal
is the other McLaren.
As we have some pit action going on here, I believe. Yes, the first of the major pit stops, Gabriele Del Piccolo coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look and see what tires he has here. Like yellow markings to me.
Mediums on the rear and softs on the front.
Okay.
That's quite interesting. I mean, that's telling me there's a lot more of spin in this car than anything else.
All right.
That's
so
the violent and powerful BMW engine. He wants the bit of the softwares in front. That's the reason that he's going so quick into the corners and so early compared with other cars. And then he wants to be able to power himself out of the corners with some margin. Remember, this is very important, okay? Something that must tell our viewers. The difference between these tires is not so much in terms of grip. There is, of course, a slightly for the softer components, but it's a matter of temperature management. I mean, you really need to pick the compound where the tires are happy in terms of temperature and they last the whole race. So you can do the whole race, the whole stint, whatever, in any of the compounds. It's just that they need to be happy with the temperature.
John Team has dropped to fourth place now behind David Saber. So he must have had some kind of, oh my goodness, there's Ray Ridal losing some grip there. His son Grant stays in sixth place. So that was the first of the pit stops that we saw there for Del Piccolo. And the lapping of the tail enders continues here. So yeah, we're on lap 24 of the race, 23 laps completed. So it'll be interesting to see at what point the front runners come in.
Yeah, because the Lotus, they show no signs of trying to go in, and they are still going strong.
Yeah,
And look
Jules
at
looks.
Kayo Mikiels now. There goes the wild Nigel Mansell impersonation trying to overtake Brad Riddle. No success this time, but he's there in
Oh
8th
goodness.
position.
Fredrickson out of the race as well.
Some laps ago.
Yeah, I didn't see what happened there, but
Whoa! It's over on the grass now.
Anders Nilsson. Oh no, that was just a ping issue. It was 12th. So the top four still staying out. Nobody pinning yet from that group. Yeah, so I guess that first pit stop was a bit of an anomaly as far as how early it was. Gabrielle must have been not happy with the way the car was behaving and wanted to use the pit stop to make a change perhaps of some kind. Maybe the tires they chose to start with weren't correct for the car.
We haven't had mentioned yet, as of now, was special mention at least, of our veteran Bruno Chacon.
Yes.
Steady Bruno is there running in 20th. I mean, even suffering COVID and all of that, he has taken with, I would say, one of the most commendable sporting spirits, the challenge of driving the Arrows, and he has been doing a brilliant job at that. I mean, not more than 2 and something seconds gap between all of his laps. So I think that's absolutely worth of the Steady Bruno nickname.
Yeah, he's extremely steady, and yeah, it's a good good that you point that out. Last time we ran this series, Bruno was at the other end of the. He was a part of the haves and not the have-nots. He was in the McLaren team.
Oops, and Bruno Pagiola seems to be out in the edge. Yes, has lost. Yeah, I don't catch the reply, but I think it was an engine failure. Let me check that.
Could have been. And that's the AGS. That's too bad because that AGS is actually a decent car.
Engine, yes.
All right.
It's flown. We actually, I mean, Jacob Fredriksson blew the engine. Peter Lavak also did. That's on the Arrows. Alan Santos suffered the same fate. Whereas we have simple DNFs by Ricardo Mendes and Kenny Houghton. But yeah, the engine, I mean, we know that these are very delicate engines, and as Wilkes already highlighted at the beginning of the season, it's not so much the temperature, but the rev limiter. Yep. You really need to be here dancing with your feet, doing very properly the heel and toe and all the action needed to keep the engine well in shape, because if you hit the rev limiter, you are going to pay dearly for that.
Yeah, it's also a problem that the people in the Pro Car series suffer with. If you're not careful, you have to do fancy footwork, or you're not going to. You got to make sure you don't miss a shift too often, because and that's definitely something that can happen with these cars. So some people maybe getting used to that. I'm not quite familiar with that, but it's definitely JPS show up front. And then Saber in third, John Team a little further back in fourth, Juha Boss in fifth for Ferrari, and then Grant Riddall, who started on the front row but has been slowly slipping back just because he's got more of a race pace in mind. I would guess he is running in sixth place, last point paying position.
Well, you were mentioning. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, it's. I was just going to tell an anecdote about the Pro Cars, since we will not be broadcasting that, but driving ourselves.
Yes.
You were talking about how delicate the engines were. I mean, as much as I'm a BMW fan, and especially of that car, I have to admit that it was a very fragile engine. It didn't do what BMW intended. It had a somehow vibration problem at some RPMs that absolutely destroyed it in endurance racing. But in any case, what I wanted to say is that when the first Pro Car series happened, all the Formula 1's drivers were taking obviously that series as a place where they will be basically earning a lot of money, and they abuse the car so much that in the first race in Belgium, in the Procar 79 series, one of the Formula One drivers blew the engine so hard that the flywheel was found 200 meters behind the car.
Oh man, that's finding the limits right there.
It certainly is.
Well, I doubt we'll see anything like that next Sunday, but it should be a fun race because everybody's got the same equipment, and a lot of it is down to technique. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. Oh, we got a yellow flag here for some reason. Not sure why. Maybe it's pit stops. Probably has to do with pits. Yes, we have a Ferrari coming into the pits now, and it is...
That's Juha, boss?
It's Juha, yes. Hard to tell with the Armco behind the name, but yes, Juha making his... No, yeah, it's Juha. Juha making his stop. It's taking
and
a long...
for him, it's soft airs in the front. Let me check that back in the replay. Yes, softs all around.
That was a long stop.
Yeah.
There is
a variable here, because you know, in '86 the teams were not as much thrilled as they were nowadays, so there might actually be some delay, and you might be lucky or unlucky.
Meanwhile, here the family feud continues. Ray Riddall and Grant Riddall. But they've got a lap car now stuck in the middle. Ray's got to find his way by Rob DeVries. Gets by now on the inside, but he's lost a lot of time to Grant in the process. All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of traffic behind. There's Cesarius, Kimikia, Cesarius, Jan Kowalski, Jonathan, who is signaling pits right now.
Yeah, Jonathan is up to 10th now.
Let's see. Yes, Jonathan also diving.
There goes Jonathan into the pits. Jonathan
or into the grass, rather.
Well, there he goes, rolling in. I love that he got Stefan Johansson's car.
Yeah.
All right, makes his stop.
Check the tires.
Yep.
Let's see. Yeah, very much as I suppose. He has the softs in the front. He wants that bite, that turn empty, but he has the mediums at the rear. So that's a bit of a touring car driver style.
Wouldn't that cause you to have tires overheating at the front and suddenly it's understeer city population U?
Like I said, it depends, because it's whatever works for you. The tires are basically intended to, the different compounds, to be able to match whatever requirements the car has. So there is not much of a difference in grip. So what this tells me is that Jonathan is very light. I mean, he has probably a very oversteady car, and he's very light on the corner entry. He wishes the car into the corner. He's not so brutal, but then he hammers it absolutely at the exit.
Here's Jan Kowalski trying to overtake Ślepinski. He had a shot at him on the long straight, but fought against it. And there's a bunch of cars in front of Ślepinski, so I don't know. Getting close to pit stop time, maybe it's better to just stay out of trouble and make the pit stop. But nobody turns in. Everybody's going for one more lap, so... Still Bouchard at the front. Rocha in second place, Sabre third, team fourth. All right, here comes Kowalski now. He's got a bit of a head of steam here. No, he just didn't have enough room at the end of the straight. But he's definitely, he definitely has designs on getting by Ślepinski here at some point. Oh, Ślepinski goes a bit wide there, and Jan saw some daylight, but wasn't able to do much with it. Coming into this really fast left-hander. Now oh my goodness, there he goes. He zips by on the inside just before the hairpin. Oh, but look at this. Ślepinski fighting back on the outside. Okay, now it's a drag race. Yeah, I think Kowalski's got that position. Well, let's see here. No, Ślepinski's coming back. And he goes back by again. Ślepinski back into 8th place. Oh man, this is fun. This is a good scrap here.
Bit like a David against Goliath.
A little bit.
Wow, Kowalski is really hammering it at the RPM
He is.
limit.
Here he goes. Whoa, right by on the outside, going into this turn. Can he make it stick? Oh, no, he can't. Oh, Kowalski off into the grass. Just ran out of real estate there. Well, it was fun while it lasted. But
Yeah,
it may not be over, though.
For Kowalski, that RPM gauge that I'm watching, it's more times out of the low that inside it.
Yeah, I still can't believe that he was able to get the position doing that.
Yeah. So it seems that Fry is now signaling pits. Let's see.
Yeah.
And you know a driver that I'm liking very much how he's doing today?
Yeah.
That's Caio Michiels. I'm watching him from cockpit view, and we all know he is very fond of being called Caio Sideways Michiels and all that. But I can tell you, he's driving today really sensibly. I mean, he's doing perfect shift changes. I know he uses manual. And well, the use he's making of the steering wheel is an absolute delight. I think that the Williams is fitting him like glove. He's using very minimal steering inputs. The car is very responsive, very reactive, but he seems to be very much in synchrony with it because he really wishes it into the corner. He places it very precisely, and I'm really liking it because he's making very little use of the front tires, and the car is gliding sideways through the corners very neatly. I mean, if he's able to keep this thing, to keep this momentum, to keep learning and making it go quicker over the season, I tell you, he's going to be one of the contenders.
Well, he's definitely doing well this afternoon. And we have another car coming into the pits. I believe this one is...
That's right.
That's Ray Riddall. He's got the first pit stall. Oh boy, more drama here. Oh my goodness, that was David Saber trying to get by Ślepinski and nearly running off into the grass doing so. This is a rather interesting focal point for action here. Ślepinski seems to be attracting it.
Meanwhile, interesting fight between Del Piccolo and Juha Boss. I think they just completed their pit stops. They are 9th and 10th.
Yeah.
Piccolo is putting some pressure on him now.
Okay, this is the definition of boost. There goes Saber right by Ślepinski on the long straight.
Yeah, it's like I had enough of this.
Well, bye.
Let's turn the magic button.
Yep.
Or the fast forward button, as they like to call it.
Keeping an eye on the top of the order here. I don't see any change. So apparently no one's gone for the pits just yet.
Nilsson is signaling pits also.
Okay.
Miller is signaling pits.
Yeah, the yellow flag that you're seeing on the screen is not for an accident. It's just the proximity of stopped cars in the pits. Oh, it's Grant Riddall is making his stop just now. And exiting the pits. He's dropping down. Is he going to get ahead of Del Piccolo? No, he is not. So he has dropped to 10th. Del Piccolo is 9th.
I'm checking Grant tires now. He has mediums in the front and softs in the rear. That's quite funny. It's exactly the opposite choice of Del Piccolo.
So this has brought KO up to 4th place and Kowalski 5th. They have both yet to pit. So it's going to be interesting to see what'll happen, how this all shakes out. The Lotus pair up front have been putting a good amount of distance between themselves and third place. It's about 12 seconds between John Team and Luciano Rocha, but it'll depend on how quick their pit stops are, obviously, if they're able to go for a stop and make it back out in the lead. But the Williams
Yes,
team,
and everybody, please remember how dramatic the race ends can be here, because you
Yes.
remember Paul Ricard last year, when the Lotus absolutely ran out of fuel and he was being overtaken left and right.
yeah, but it's lots of TV time for the Williams team right now. They're running 4th and 5th. And, yeah, things are looking really sunny for them right now.
Okay, can you signal in pits now?
Okay.
Well, that's also something that we should point out. Since there is no refueling, I mean, there are pit stops, okay, but there is no refueling. They are basically changing the tires. What this means is that they have started the race with a very, very heavy car, like 180 kilos worth of fuel in the tanks. And now the car is very different. You have to have the proviso for the setup here, and also sometimes you would be tempted to actually make a different choice of tires, because now you're going to run towards the end of the race with an empty car, whereas you started with a heavy one.
Just now overhauling one of the Zach Speeds. Yeah, and the tire difference too. The tires that you put on are going to wear less because you have less fuel weight, which is helpful as well. That's why I'm surprised that Racine stops this late. Maybe they want to go with softer tires on a lighter fuel load.
Well, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. I mean,
Yeah.
if they were happy riding like that. Okay, here comes KO.
Here comes KO into the pits.
Kowalski goes for another lap. That's interesting. His teammate, who was right behind him, is going for another lap. And I'm not so sure, but I think that pit stalls are shared here, so maybe Kowalski wasn't going to risk finding the pit spot occupied.
Janik also in the pits.
Okay, mediums all around for Michiels.
All right. Very slow exit. Doesn't want to over rev the engine, but and Janik also making a stop there. So that brings Kowalski up to third place. Saber is fourth. Schlapinski now is fifth after all the eventful stuff that's been going on for him.
Yeah, there goes the McLaren. There goes David Saber past him. And I don't think David has been in the pits.
No, I don't think he has.
Well, it depends.
see.
I'm not sure what compound he's running, but it should be
There's a
possible
replay.
to run the whole race, yes.
Yeah, here's the replay of him overtaking
Mm-hmm.
and going up one spot. And it appears, by his posture, he looked like he was going for the pits, but no, he's just overtaking Sibignani on the inside. Okay. All right, Saber continues for another lap. Bouchard and Rocha are still out in front. There's Kowalski. Schlapinski doing an excellent job driving today. Driving with a lot of spirit, but managing to... just right there was an example. Very tail happy, that Lola. But he seems to enjoy driving that way, I guess. It's his way of driving. John Team has dropped down to 6th place with all of this action that's been going on. And then there's Juha in 7th at this point. So we'll see how this all shakes out once the pit stops are all done.
Yeah, still some people to do the pit stop. And we don't know if someone is actually risking it and trying to go without a pit stop. So, like I said, This is a test bench basically for everybody, so anything can happen.
Saber trying to get by one of the Ocellas here, Rob DeVries, and Rob gives him ground there, heading into a left-hander, the last corner on the track. Now the same task for Kowalski, and he gets by with no problem.
Very good driving by Rob, who also has been able to keep so far past the half race, the Ocella on the run, which is no small feat.
Oh man, one of the Tyrrells ran off the course there, trying to make room for Slipinski.
Aha, Kowalski signaling pits now also.
Okay. Taking a look inside the cars here of the two Lodi. Jules Bouchard and Luciano, they both do not show any pit, but yes, you're correct. Kowalski is signaling pits now. And the distance between himself and Slipinski is 8 seconds, so he's definitely not going to come out in fourth. But
No.
he's driven an excellent race to this point.
Whoops. Matthew Ibañez on the grass.
Mm. Okay. And Jan makes the turn into the pit lane. Locks him up as he's... Is there a pit speed limit for this track?
I don't think so. By the
No.
rules there were none, but I'm not sure because this is a automobilist track, so I'm
Yeah.
not sure. Let me check if the briefing mentioned something.
That was a very quick pit stop for Kowalski. He's in and out really fast. He's not going to stay in the top 6, but that's about as good as he could have gone. He drops to 9th now, but that was an excellent pit stop.
What's up with Ibañez? Oh,
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. Rocha has run into the back of another car and has lost his front wing. Let's take a look at a replay.
That's the problem.
Major
I mean,
development.
yeah, Ibañez was with a
Oh, my
destroyed
goodness.
car. Ibañez's car was actually damaged, and he was going slow, snaking out of the corner, and it absolutely caught Luciano Rocha unaware.
Oh, my goodness. So, at the very least, Luciano's got to change his, has got to get a new front wing. He looks like there's more wrong with the car. The car is, yes, he's got suspension damage as well. You can see it plainly. The car,
That's too bad.
that's incredible. There goes the Lotus 1-2. I'm sure they're really disappointed about that. But here he comes into the pits. At least it was near when a pit stop was supposed to happen anyway, but goodness. When your number's up on a circuit, sometimes your number is just up. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is.
And that fix is going to take some time, so he's going to go way down the list now. That's just too bad. His teammate stays in the lead. David Saber now is promoted to second. Has he not made his pit stop yet?
Don't think so.
Okay, that's interesting. He may be one of the drivers that you talked about. He may be.
No, wait a moment. I think he did, yes. On lap 30,
Okay.
he spent 15 seconds more than usual.
All right.
15, no, actually even more. Yeah.
Gabriel
20
Del
seconds.
Piccolo out of the race.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know, but it looks like an engine problem. Here he is stationary
Nice.
on the course. Yes, the flicker of flame. I can hear the sound. So barbecue for Gabriel Del Piccolo. That's too bad.
And very early.
Like you said, these BMW engines,
Double-edged sword. They are quick, but they are fragile.
Quick but fragile. That'll be interesting. It makes me wonder about what the attrition rate will be at Donington next Sunday. I know it's a totally different engine, but...
Yeah, let's see how many flywheels we see on the track.
I've been to Donington before with Richard Coxon and his lovely girlfriend, and it's a really, really interesting course.
Yeah, lots of elevation changes, naked down and uphill.
Yeah,
I find it really difficult.
It was myself and Coxon and Heather watching the cars circulate, and they had to use every inch of the road and then some. It was like they were doing a ski slalom between points on the track, and there was vintage Formula One, some really, really cool Can-Am cars there, and a lot of BMW touring cars. So it was a fun meet. This is going back to 2016. I need to get back out there. But
I can see Grant Ridal now struggling a bit with the tires. Some problems for him there.
Okay,
He
Luciano in the
wasn't able-
pits.
Yeah. Grant wasn't even able to make it to the apex in some corners, and he was hitting the curb in another
Still.
one, so some overheat there in his tires, I would think.
I think I'm really amazed that Luciano's still in the pits after all this time. I would have thought that repair would have been done by now, but apparently it's far, far more serious.
Yeah, if it's suspension, then it takes a while. I mean, if it's only changing the front wing, it's some seconds, but suspension, that's another matter.
So you were talking about Grant and his tires?
I was saying that he seems to have overheating them badly because he was missing some apex there and hitting the curb on another side, and that means that the car has lost all the precision, which points to me at the overheated fronts.
Yeah, that would be my concern going with softs on the front. These corners have very fast entry speeds, and I would think that if you weren't careful, you could overheat them very easily.
The car is now very different as it was at the beginning of the race, so yeah. I mean, if the balance isn't right, I mean, you can change the tires, but you cannot change the setup in itself.
Yeah.
The wings, the suspension, and all that. So, well, let's see, because I would keep an eye on him, because it surprised me how he was suffering a lot with the car.
Shlapinski battling here with Juha. And Shlapinski up into third place now. David Saber is in second, and Juha Boss is in fourth. So this battle is continuing. Just the way that Shlapinski is driving the car alone is fun and interesting. And you can see John Team lurking back there, waiting for the right moment to try something. But any pit stops from this group? The answer is no. Well, the gap between Bouchard and David Saber is 26 seconds at this point, I believe. No, it's actually 33. It's 33 seconds. 33.6. So...
Oops. There's Rob Debris sitting on the side of the track and the Ocella smoking.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I mean, basically what we were expecting, isn't it?
So Bouchard could conceivably make a pit stop and stay in the lead at this point with the time that he has in front of David Saber. So, but meanwhile, look at this battle going on here between Shlapinski and Juha. This is excellent stuff. Looking from the chopper shot, Shlapinski has the advantage at the moment, but Juha is definitely... Oh, he's right with him now. Look at this. Oh my goodness! Look at how much that rear end is dancing on Shlapinski's car. He's on a 45 angle in some of these corners. Here goes Juha up the inside, Can he get it done? Yes, he does. Juha snakes by on the inside.
Very clean overtake,
Yeah.
very skillful. I mean, the car didn't even lose the trajectory, so he arrested it well before the apex.
Yes. Matthew Sibignani says he had punctured rears and the front wing was gone. He was going as slow and safe as he could. Oh no, Anders Nilsson out of the race. What happened here? Maybe this is another, this is Team Haas, so perhaps this is I don't know, an engine let go. I have a hard time believing it's an accident, but I'm running back here to see if I can capture it. Yeah, oh yeah, here he is. He's parked at the side of the course. So, yep, no sound coming from that car, so it looks like an engine let go. That's too bad. One Haas car still out there, though.
He switched cars from the Ferrari to that Haas, but it seems that with the red color, the engine failures have stuck.
Guess who just went up from 7th to 6th place? Which is a flip of the script. Johnny Aces.
Yep, there goes Jonathan.
Mr. 7th place is now in the points. Driving Stefan Johansson's Ferrari. That'd be great if he could get points in his very first race. It's tempting to think of... Yeah, it's...
the McLaren and Kowalski really anxious to get by.
Yeah, lots of... there's a traffic jam going on here. Kowalski wants to get ahead here, yeah. It's tempting to... Oh, there we go. There's an overtake attempt by Ray that is not going to happen. Doesn't get it done. Grant says, sorry, Dad. And now, does that mean that Ray is going to fall into the clutches of Jan Kowalski? No, not quite yet. Jan's looking at him, but... oh my goodness! Jan almost ran right into the back of him. He was not prepared for that shutoff point. And Ray now slips around there, and yeah, Jan gets by.
Yeah, I think it was a clever thing to do by Rai because he was not gaining anything. I can see Kowalski over revving the car badly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's on fire. He's going very quick, and probably Rai had the intuition that that was the case. And I can see smoke there at the end of the straight.
What's going on?
That's a Ferrari. That was a Ferrari.
That's
Juha, boss.
Juha.
Yeah.
Oh, Juha out of the race. Barbecue. No. Juha out of the race. My goodness. But on the other hand, here's Asserklint, who's caught up with Ślepinski. So he's picked up the mantle for the Tifosi. Oh, there's another attempt there by Kowalski to get around Grant Rudall. Doesn't quite work. So we got two battles going on here. Hard to follow them.
Yeah, that's
here's Asserklint.
A bit of a deja vu for Cesarius.
Asserklint is in 4th place. Goes up to 4th place now.
Whoa,
oh my goodness! Cesarius has spun the car, but hits nothing, pulls a Danny Sullivan, and keeps going. Let's take a look.
He only needs to win to put it completely.
Let's see that again. What induced the spin is what I wonder. Now he just lost grip. Spins the thing around. Hits nothing, keeps going. Well, so Johnny Aces in 4th place now for Ferrari. Excellent run for Jonathan. John Team is in 3rd. Saber in 2nd, kind of in a bit of traffic here. Be careful, looking for a way to get by. And Rocha is there, and he's acting very racy. He's really not happy where he is, obviously, but he wants to try to get his lap back. Oh my goodness. I'm starting to wonder if something's wrong with Saber's car because he's weaving a lot in these short straights. Maybe a tire choice is acting weird at this point. But I think Roche is going to try to overtake him on the straight here. He wants to get his lap back, but there's really, at this point, this is a test session for him. Meanwhile, Jules continues in the lead. And he's going for another lap. Team must be very happy because with the pit stop shakeout, he's gotten himself back into the top 3. He was down in 6th prior to this situation. So with that spin by Schlapinski, that puts Johnny Aces is in an excellent spot. Kowalski 5th, and Grant is in 6th. So, but he's constantly being hounded by his dad. So you can't rest for a minute. So very soon here, there's going to be, we're going to get to the point where we're almost at the end of the race. Who do you think is holding something back here and is waiting to play some kind of a card we haven't seen yet?
That's a good question, actually. I'll check a bit on the lap times, but I think I'm looking at the top now. So Jules Bouchard is actually, I think the strategy is actually the opposite of that, as I've said. He's all out there, and then he will save the fuel towards the end of the race. David Saber has been very steady all the time. John Tim is probably the one that is like more on the edge, and if he finds himself with some fuel towards the end of the race, he would be the one to watch out. Kowalski is absolutely on fire. Grant is holding it also back. So I think from that top, probably Grant is the one who is doing the most calculated race so far, and the one who could, at the end of the race, if he has enough fuel, surprise all of us with a sprint.
All right. I'd say that's pretty good analysis. I'm watching Jonathan here behind John Team, and he just sitting stationary back there, and it makes me think that he's planning something, wants to be up on that rostrum. But what a drive by Jonathan. I mean, typically Jonathan drives touring cars for us and other series. We very rarely see him in open wheel competition. But I would point out that he always does an excellent job getting the car into a race at Indy for us. No, this is clearly he is matched really well with this car.
Yes, he has driven in Formula 191, occasional drives in other open wheelers, but he's the kind of guy who has that liking for a sportive challenge, and he always uses to like underdogs. One of the reasonings behind putting him at the wheel of this Ferrari this year was that he actually always drives underdogs, and I think he deserved the chance to be able to shine here and stop being Mr. 7th place.
Well, he's definitely doing that right now.
He's doing very good here.
Yeah.
Look, that's the other weakness of Pan, so to speak, because his talent is absolutely out of question, is in terms of setup. I mean, he's a very straightforward guy, and for him the setup is a bit of a mystery when we are talking about ground effects, wings, and all that. That's why he works so well with touring cars, where you're basically doing chassis setup in somehow basic terms, okay?
Oh,
but
look at
here
this.
he has a very good teammate, Juha, who is very helpful.
And
I think
just
that's
like that,
what's going to help him a lot.
just like that, he sweeps by
Very
John Team.
skillful move.
Yeah, that was excellent. Let's look at that again from his point of view. This is just a second ago. Jonathan overtaking John Team. Oh, very, very late getting to the apex, but he got there. Actually bounced off the curb there too, but didn't have a problem. Actually, Team dropped 2 places there. He's now down to 5th. Kowalski was able to slip through as well. So a bit of an up and down day for John Team, but Who's this in front of? This is a Benetton in front of
Coxon.
Coxon. Yeah.
Yeah, he's moving away. He's 10th. No business for him there.
But look at Kowalski. He's still right with Johnny, seeing where he can find some daylight.
They are fighting for one of the most hard-fought positions, you know, first
Yes.
and third. Those are the ones that get the hardest fight.
First, third, and sixth.
Yeah. First because he's winning the race, third because he's the last podium and the last points paid in position, obviously. And that Honda engine, Jesus, I mean, that's some engine, because I mean Kowalski is absolutely having no mercy of it.
Well, we'll have to see. Hopefully he makes it to the end without barbecuing it. But
I tell you, I'm at the cockpit of this car, and if I had known Kowalski was going to run it, I'd give him further 1,000 or 2,000 RPMs in the Tahoe.
Okay, here comes Kowalski. He's going to take another shot at Jonathan. No, he decides he's not going to do it here. Well, I don't know, maybe. No. Oh, man. He just misses clipping his right rear.
I don't know if he's going to be able to intimidate Jonathan, but I'll tell you, he's going to scare the hell out of him.
Yeah, Jonathan's a cool cucumber. He doesn't get rattled too easily. Oh, there goes Jonathan. But is he onto the grass? Yep, he runs onto the grass and concedes it back to Jonathan. Yeah, that's a classic example there of overcooking things. He had the inside line going into the hairpin, but just overcooked it, went out onto the grass, and Jonathan goes back through.
Would you believe that Mr. Dave Miller is 13th in the minority and still in the race?
That's a big deal. Because the Minardi's not one of the best cars in the mod by a long shot, but Miller's a smooth driver. We know that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I also saw that Tim Hiller retired. That went unnoticed because the Benettons are in this part of the season certainly not under the spotlight.
Yeah. KO's running 8th right now, so no! Oh my goodness, he beaches it onto the curb. That could have turned out very bad. So he's got to watch it. He's closing laps here onto the curb again. There's some circuits you can get away with that stuff. Not here.
Yeah, let's talk for a moment about another friend.
Yeah.
And helpful cooperator who is also here, and we haven't mentioned him much. Hey, that's Brian Janik.
Yep, Brian Janik.
The Detroit Demon, who is bringing the Saxfit now to 14th place.
Oh, matches the car.
Yep.
Yeah, Brian, we haven't heard a lot from lately, but good to see him back racing with us again. It's probably going to take him a bit to get this car up to top form, but Brian's always up for a challenge. Oh man, Luciano almost threw the car away on a corner there, like on one of the curves, but he's I'll give him this much. Even in the situation he's in, he's driving very quickly. He has not decided to lay down. He's definitely pushing for all he can.
So Kowalski has now recovered the lost ground and is again.
Yes. Oh my goodness! Jonathan has a big tank slapper exiting that turn, and he gave up the position to Kowalski. Let's look at that under replay once more.
Yeah, a bit of optimism there on the throttle or the tool kicking in.
Yeah. Yeah. Lucky for Kowalski to get around that without collecting Jonathan. It would have been a similar problem as what happened to Rocha earlier with Simignani, but man, That was close. So now Jonathan's got to set up Kowalski again.
Yeah, quite quite funny situation where he has been trying everything that he could to pass Jonathan, going out of the track and all that, and all of a sudden he finds himself gifted the position.
Mm-hmm. Well, I gotta say too, a big shout out to David Saber, who, quite frankly, last year was a very up and down year for him. He didn't have very many excellent results, but here he is in second place for Marlboro McLaren. So, I mean, that's a great way to start the season. If he can hold it together and bring it home. It's lap 53 now out of 61. So we're closing down here. Less than 10 laps to go to finish the Brazilian Grand Prix. There have been people commenting on YouTube about seeing Jules Bouchard in front in a Lotus, and it's kind of a change of script for him. Usually he's a little further back and involved in a lot of skirmishes, but seeing him lead this way practically from start to finish, they're saying shows his improvement and shows what we can expect from him this year.
Yes, and I think this also is quite interesting strategy-wise, because, you know, there are, like I said at the beginning of the race, basically two options. It's either you go all out, build up a big cushion, and then basically wait until the fate reaches you, or you go with a thinking head. You start going slow and save fuel for the end, and then you try to benefit from those that are falling back madly because they have basically wasted all the fuel. So I think the strategy of Jules in this situation is paying off, but basically just because of the engine breakdowns and the fights and all the issues and problems that have faced the people that were behind him.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going on behind him, and that plays right into his hands. It's a very good point.
Yeah, I don't think many of the people who are right behind him had such a comfortable and clear race as he has had. So this has given him probably the opportunity to save even more fuel than he initially intended. Whereas the people that were behind, I think, for example, like Grant, who have done a very calculating race, they have found suddenly that calculating race on a very steady pace is no longer a good proposition when that steady pace is interrupted constantly by fights, people overtaking you, a guy who is on the car in front but is just slightly slower than you want, and you don't want to risk the pass or waste fuel on that.
Yeah, something must have happened there to Kowalski, because he fell all the way down to 7th place. And now we've got a situation where John Team is in 3rd and Asserclinth is in 4th. They're a bit spread out at the moment here, but this looks like it's going to be the battle to watch in the closing laps here. I was watching Kowalski for a second on replay, and he was definitely looked like he was gathering himself up after something happened to him. So
I think that's very likely having overheated the tires.
Maybe.
Because you need some margin to cool them down, and he seems now to be again on it.
Well, he's got a ways to go. He lost 2 places to the Radals, 5th and 6th. And you look at Jonathan hanging the tail out of it there. He definitely wants to catch John Team if he can in these last few laps.
Well, in any case, Kowalski now having probably cooled the tires a bit down, and with his all balls out attitude towards the engine, is now catching up quickly. He's now behind Ryan Grant, and well, I mean, if this engine lasts the whole race, he can put a candle to the Honda engine gods, I tell you, because it's amazing the punishment that he's giving it.
All right, so yeah, he's got the Radals right in front of him. I think Ray has actually really turned up the wick. Yeah, he's having a look at his son for a second there, just a little bit.
Yeah, at this point in the race, I think that people are having a much clearer idea of what the fuel remaining is and what they are able to do or not towards the end of the race. And for the McLarens, for example, is now the time to crank up the boost,
Yeah.
and then benefit from that fuel saving that the Porsche engine management gives them. It's interesting though how third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, they are together in the same stretch of the track, and any small error by any of them means that you can easily lose 2 places, 3 places very quickly.
Yeah, it's just a small mistake is all it's going to take to send you backwards. Coming up now to a series of kinks here. Look at how close Kowalski is now. Is he going to try an overtake going into the last corner here before the long straight? No. But maybe he's comes off the corner. He's right with Ray at this point. Everyone looking at their fuel gauges too. Oh, Richard Coxon out of the race.
Oops.
He pulls off the circuit. That looks like a engine letting go.
Barbecue, right?
Yeah, that's too bad.
Oops, Kowalski. He hit Ray in the rear.
Oh no, Ray is off his...
But
yes.
wait a moment, I mean,
just
Ray
happened.
was actually very slow at the turn exit. Maybe that was an failure for him when Kowalski hit him. Let me check that.
Oh man, yeah. No, Ray's going slow after the fact.
Yeah, no. He was absolutely slowing down. When Kowalski hits him, Ray was slowing down already. I mean, Kowalski was surprised by the fact that Ray had exited the turn so slow. And it actually says for Ray Ridal engine, yes, the engine
the engine
died.
let go.
I'm happy to say it wasn't Kowalski's fault at all. He was absolutely surprised by the car. But then he's also, is that the DNF? Because yeah, Kowalski scored as DNF now, but
I'm
he's
really
in the pits,
surprised that
actually.
I'm surprised that he scored as a DNF on my end as well. I don't know. It looked like he just lost his front wing. He quit. Okay.
Yeah, it seems to be some delay in that. It's very unfortunate. Because I really wanted to see if that Honda engine was going to last the race.
Well, if there's a silver lining here, K.O. McKeels is up to 6th place. So that's one. Team Williams Honda will salvage 1 point if things stay the way they are. Grant Ridal is in 5th. Team 4th. And Johnny Ace has got back by John Team. We missed that while we were looking at the other drama, but it looks like John Team is not ready to concede that. Going into lap 58 out of 61. This has been an excellent race. Lots of good fights and...
Whoops! Brian Janik in the barriers now.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. And he's lost his rear wing, and it looks like his suspension is damaged. Right rear.
Yeah, it's a puncture there.
Oh, man. Oh, it's a puncture. Well, in any case, he's going to be... with so little time to go, he may finish the race in the pits. That's too bad.
Oops. Truck rejoin now.
Yeah, the challenge now is getting... Yeah, the leader's going by him here. The challenge is to get out of the way as best you can and not spin suddenly.
That's
all right.
Funnily enough, there's no yellow flag here in this sector.
Yeah, weird. So Johnny Ace is back in third place once again.
Okay, some quick cars coming now. Let's see what Brian can do. Easy there. Jonathan and John team. And here comes Grant. Oof.
Yeah, it's difficult.
I think that Brian should call it quit. Because this is really not making much sense anymore, especially if you're not going to get points anyway.
Yeah. Well, Ślepinski is in 7th, so he's been in the middle of a lot of really exciting battles all day, and unfortunately he's going to finish just outside of the points, but very spirited driving. Fun to watch. And Oscar team, almost unnoticed. We haven't talked about Oscar at all today, and he is 8th in the other Equipe Ligier entry. Jeton. So, it's an okay day for the Ligier team. They'll probably shine it better at other tracks. We'll see. And Luciano is 9th in the other Lotus, so he's proving to everybody that he's not a quitter, even though he's got like no chance at all of. I mean, that was really an unfortunate situation, getting caught behind a lap car like that. I mean, it's a risk that you run in these cars. It looks like he's going to be overtaken here by his teammate, maybe, with a lap to go.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure Luciano's placed well to have great results down the line. I mean, I know that you can't just go by the speed chart, but this tells me that he has resolve, that he's not just going to pack it in. Yeah, Janik now into the pits, in the pit stall, but he'll likely finish the race there, unfortunately. That's a lot of repair.
Yep. And we are nearly there. 59 laps out of 61 covered.
Oh no! Jules Bouchard has blown his engine! Oh my goodness! No!
Wow, if there's something unfair,
unbelievable! And then you have one of the unbelievable black smoke coming out of the back. David Saber has taken the lead. That means that, oh my goodness, that means that Johnny Aces will be in 2nd, John Team in 3rd, Grant Rudolph 4th, and he puts it in the garage right away. My goodness. We knew that was a possibility, didn't we?
It is. These engines are a bit like a Russian roulette. You never know.
Johnny Ace is in 2nd place in the Ferrari. Saber in front of him, and Saber is now on his last lap. My goodness. Well, this is a finish we didn't expect to see. So now Saber is going to be watching that, watching those revs and watching the fuel and watching the boost, making sure he can make it around this one last time. Jonathan in 2nd place, team in 3rd place, 4th is Grant Rudolph, so a better result than it appeared he would get a little bit ago. KO in 5th, 6th Ślepinski. Ślepinski is rewarded for his acrobatics, it appears, assuming everything gets to the end the way it is.
Yeah, because we better stay silent.
Yeah, I know.
This point still happen.
Very rarely does this man get a win in ISO competition. He does so much work for us behind the scenes, building cars and creating the mods that we enjoy. And he is going to be richly rewarded here as he comes into the final turn, a guy that richly deserves a result like this. Coming off the final turn. And there it is. David Saber wins the Brazilian Grand Prix. Probably very surprised.
Now that That's
And-
a great start of the season, and it's very funny because I was asking for tips to my fellow admins for the race,
Yeah.
and he did some couple of comments about the race, and then he said, but hey, but look, I'm no Prost, eh? Don't expect
Yeah.
anything from me.
Well, Johnny
Well, there
Ace
you
is
go.
also another guy who does a lot for us behind the scenes. Finishes in second place. Third goes to John Team. Fourth goes to Grant Radall. Good drives from both of them to get their cars to the finish. Cale McKeels, Mr. Sideways, but he drives a very good race, finishes in fifth place. Great result for him. And Cesarius, I believe, is still actually driving at the moment. Yeah, he's still at speed. He hasn't crossed the line yet, but he's going to finish in
corners to go.
driving the late Patrick Tambay's car, who Tambay passed away late this past year. And there he is, heading off the turn to take the flag. The last point, sixth, is 1 point. So good start for the Beatrice Lola team. But the one person who's got to really be just feeling like just at the bottom of the barrel right now has got to be Jules Bouchard. But if it's any consolation, his pace has been shown. His racecraft has been shown. If he can get the car to last to the end, he's going to be formidable in this series.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
Well, that was an incredible race. Many thanks to you, Alberto, for helping me cover it. Let's do the trivia question now.
Yeah, we haven't had even a moment for that.
No, we have not, because there's been so much going on. The trivia question is... Got to bring up my sound effects. Who won the first Brazilian Grand Prix at Jacarepaguá on January 29th, 1978? Was it A, Mario Andretti, B, Carlos Reutemann, or C, Ronnie Peterson? Time's up. What do you think?
Hard to tell, but it's 1978.
Yes.
I'm going to go with Andretti, maybe.
Oh, I'm sorry. The answer is Carlos Reutemann.
Oh, Reutemann, yeah. He was driving for Ferrari at the time, right?
Yes, exactly. All right. So let's see. I believe we have some people in the green room who want to talk to us. Oh, very fittingly. All right. Out of the green room, into the booth. Johnny Ace's second place in the Ferrari. Congratulations. Excellent run.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's... I didn't quite expect that when I ended up qualifying 24th or 25th on the grid.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
But, yeah, was fortunate enough to have a few drivers who had issues. Could take the pit stop at a very, very opportune time. And then really nice fights with a few other guys. Especially Jon, which was a lot of fun. And that Ligier of his.
Yeah, we watched you have a lot of really interesting battles. You know what's going to happen now? Your face is going to be on the cover of all the tabloids in Italy. And the Tifosi are going to be grabbing at you in the streets. Are you ready for that?
I prefer to be unknown, but
I don't think that's...
if that's what they're going to do, then that's what they do, and I'll try to deal with it best I can.
Yeah. Well, it was definitely you could imagine we were just bouncing off the walls in the booth when the unfortunate engine let go for Jules after leading the entire way. But this was an interesting race from a point of view of just seeing who was gelling with the car and who was not, and which cars did well at this circuit better than others. And it was a very interesting race. But you provided a lot of entertainment for us on the broadcast. So
yes, I gave it a red hot go.
Yeah. You any questions for Jonathan? Alberto?
Well, I was going to ask him how was the tire situation with him. Did you use the same tires at the beginning of the race and then after the pit stop? And if so, were you happy with that or?
The plan from the beginning, if it hadn't been so hot, would have been to run hards on the front and mediums on the rear for the first stint, and then mediums all around. But the extensive heat, I think it reached as high as 30, 31 degrees in the air. So that sort of came to the conclusion when it was time for my pit stop that I may as well just use hards and be able to push, since I need to get further up the grid anyway, as well.
Aha, so you changed them in the pit stop from the compound that you started with.
Yes, I changed tires, but it was the same compound both times.
Ah, okay.
All right.
Well,
the next race that's coming up for your series, Jonathan, is going to be Jerez, the Spanish Grand Prix, in 2 weeks' time. Have you raced much at Jerez before?
I don't think I've done one race in what was it, GT cars back then, and I did not enjoy the experience, but I hope the experience will be better with the open wheel Formula One car.
Yeah,
well, it'll interesting to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a track that somehow resembles Jacarepaguá, except for the long straight. So, but other than that,
yeah.
So if you did well here, maybe you're going to do well there too.
Yeah, and coming up before that, next Sunday, we have the International Pro Car meeting at Donington, a 40-lap race, a quick sprint. And Jonathan, you'll be there to cover the action for us, I understand?
Yes, that is correct.
Well, it should be interesting because everybody's got the same equipment. There's very little you can change on these cars, and it's very much a situation of who can adapt themselves best to the track and the car, how it behaves. So that's next Sunday, the 15th at 2000 CET. And you talk about engines you like that sound good. These inline 6 BMW engines sound pretty sweet.
Yeah, it'll be really fun to watch and talk about, and hopefully get to listen to.
Yep. All right, cool. I think that's everybody in the green room. And once again, Alberto, thanks for joining me in the booth. It was a great time calling the race, as always. And you always have such insightful things to say. It really raises the broadcast to the next level. I really appreciate all your support.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun. It was really great to follow it live.
All right. Well, that's the end of the broadcast then. For myself and Alberto and Jonathan, this is Jason White saying so long from no one ever gets the name right. Jacarepaguá, I guess, is the best I can do. We'll see you all next Sunday. Everyone take care and be safe. And Happy New Year to everyone as well. Bye.